All right, folks, so we now welcome in the Malsberg panel, and gracing the panel in this hour is radio host and author of The Big Black Lie, our friend Kevin Jackson, and Newsmax's Washington correspondent, John Gizzi. Gentlemen, welcome back to both of you.
Thanks, Steve.
Pleasure.
I got to tell you, I just had on Captain John Cox. He's a veteran airline pilot. He heads his own security firm, an NBC aviation analyst. And I asked him, I said, I know you're on NBC. I said, you may not want to mention CNN, but I said, they're wall to wall, 24-hour nonstop, over and over. The big news today, the breaking news was the pilot made a cell phone call before he took off. And even on CNN, when they asked the experts they had assembled, is there anything unusual about that? All the experts said, no. I mean, it's like, now we'll find out he went to the bathroom, before the plane took off. It's just insane. John, I mean, don't they have anything better to do than 24/7 with this plane?
I just came from lunch with a colleague of mine from German public radio who asked the same thing verbatim that you did, Steve. And it's almost like it is turning this into a drama of some kind, or a brief, short-running mini-series, if you will. Again, it's serious, and as I've said every time, we need to keep the families of the 270 missing passengers in our prayers. But at the same time, to speculate about what may or may not have happened, to raise hopes, to create a scenario for a sinister plot, does them worse than the worst news of all that would come in.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin, it's just, and tonight CNN has a little mini series, like John alluded to, at 10 o'clock. I think it's the missing flight. It's insane. I mean, I feel my heart breaks for the families. You see how some of them are on hunger strikes. They want more information. This is almost unprecedented, but still in all, it's one plane, and it's like 20 countries are spending billions of dollars to locate it.
Oh, it's outrageous. I was thinking, is the Lindbergh baby on there, Amelia Earhart, or did they find Jimmy Hoffa's body on this plane? What are they looking for? But here's the deal. I have learned a lot about the Indian Ocean. It's 24,000 feet deep in an average depth of 12,000 feet. And you would ask me, how do I know this? Because if a plane crashed in it, what I learned today is the wreckage could have sunk. I mean, that's how ridiculous this reporting has become, and it cracks me up because, again, to John's point, we all feel for the families. If my family was on the plane, I'd want to know what happened. I would certainly, by this point, figure, you know what, it's probably not going to be a good outcome. But everything that's being done, I mean, I thought, is one of the OJ, bodies on there? Or did OJ escape, and is he flying the plane? This is to the point of ridiculousness.
Well, it's gone from the spectacular to the speculative to the sublime. I mentioned in passing to Steve earlier this week that there was an episode of the popular television drama The Twilight Zone in 1961, The Arrival, which deals with a plane that lands at an airport with no one in it, and how a Federal Aviation Administration inspector, played by that fine character actor Harold J. Stone, is obsessed with ending the mystery. Well, I thought to myself after, I feel bad because I've likened something serious to a TV drama. But how much more or less valuable is speculation about what appeared in a TV drama in 1961 than what's being on television and offered as evidence today?
Well, John, here's what we do know. We know that Christians didn't hijack that plane. That's what we do know. It's to me, it's almost like, okay, we can speculate. It could have been the pilots, both of whom had very Islamic, Muslim-sounding names. It could have been the two unknown Iranians with the crazy passports. It could have been a lot of things. It could have been pilot error, a lot of, who knows? And what's funny about these news reports is they all say things like, well, it could have been, or we suspect, or it might be, but there's no definitive news yet. We're still talking about it.
And it's all breaking news. It's all under the banner of breaking news.
Right. I'm going to venture into the speculative area to say that in a plane of 270 people, assuming that there is a semblance of the post-9/11 security, it would have been very difficult for people who are passengers on the plane to seize the cockpit simply because of the metal detectors, the possibility of embedded sky marshals, and that if there is a burden of guilt somewhere, it lies more with the pilots than it would with anyone on the plane, solely because they would know what to do, and it would have been very hard for someone to commandeer the plane, given the post-9/11
You know,
security
I would
arrangements.
tend to agree with you, but two factors. One, Malaysia. Two, World Trade Center. Malaysia being Malaysia, I don't know what their security procedures are. In fact, they sold the tickets for cash one way to the guys with the fake passports. And now what happened a couple of days ago here in New York City, where a kid from New Jersey, I don't know, 12-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, he got to the antenna of the New World Trade Center, the antenna. There was a sleeping security guard. That's all there was one security guard for him to get to the very top, and climbed a little bit up in the first place. This is ground zero.
I think we should have this kid look for Obama's birth certificate. Like I said, this has become a crazy story. All the speculation, and it may. And look, I keep coming back to this because I'm a humorist, and I see humor in all these different things. But I certainly feel for the families that are wanting a real answer. But this story has truly taken on a life of its own, and it's almost to the point now where it's deserving of ridicule.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead, John.
Yeah. One postscript I would add, and that is that this is 2014. How can a 777 with 270 passengers and a crew just disappear?
See, that's another thing. That's what I am of the opinion, and I guess I'm wrong, because they're all putting their eggs in this search basket off 1,500 miles off the coast of Australia in the middle of the Indian Ocean. But when they say, well, when it flies over water, it's not on radar. I thought every plane was kind of always on radar. I don't understand how
when they turn the transponder off.
Yeah, I understand that too. But don't satellites? I mean, don't we assume in this world of NSA that if not us, someone has constant track of planes in the air?
I agree. To me, how this plane could disappear with everything that you just described is the real mystery. And I heard the pilots talking about how difficult it is to get to the black box, and they've got multiple systems that it doesn't work on the same power system and things like this. Again, a lot of speculation. I don't know anything about the 777, but I am in a belief that in a world that's this non-secure, how does a plane just up and disappear? It didn't fly over the Bermuda Triangle, though. That's the good news. So
CNN said it flew into a black hole yesterday. What's that? What's a black hole?
That's completely racist there, Steve.
Hey, John, one question for you. I mean, at the White House press briefings, are people asking about this a lot or no?
I think the question usually is increasingly more Malaysia and less Crimea these days,
really?
Less Ukraine. And simply because I've noted the way the amount of questions plus the decibel level on this subject increases by the day. So, yes, it has penetrated the White House press room.
Wow. All right. Well, guys, we will reconvene in an hour, and I promise you we will talk about something different. We'll bring up Nancy Pelosi talking about President Obama and this lawsuit that was settled in New York City in the fire department, where the city has now paid $100 million to some 1,500 black firefighters or would-be firefighters because of a test that was deemed to be biased. It's crazy, but we'll talk about it next hour. I thank you both for being with us. Folks, when we come back, we're going to be joined by the one and the only Dr. David Samadi. You know him, Chief of Robotics at Lenox Hill Hospital. And like I said at the top of the hour, I know that any hypochondriacal questions that I have, I will have satisfied by Dr. Samadi. So maybe one of mine is one of yours. So keep it tuned right here. Coming back, Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax Television.
The Steve Malzberg.